part of the chaos that's going on around us is due to a lack of self-management. Um, we have mass shootings, we have wars and violence with each other. The problems start with you. You're at war with yourself first before anything else. I'm back. Welcome back to the Nurture community. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Vinta. If this is your first time tuning in, you're so welcome to the family. Here we discuss truthful, meaningful, and deep conversation, and we are ready for another one today. Episode 6, Emotional Intelligence. So let's dive in. So we have been taught from a young age that having a high IQ is one of the most important things one can have to have a successful life. It determines how smart you are and how far you can get in life. From a young age, we were trained to think logically and act and have an active mind, right? So which helps to neglect our emotional states or needs. Emotions are something we dare not to talk about from a young age, and and we wonder why there's so much chaos going on because we're not in touch with our own emotions. So, coupled with financial literacy, communication skills, mental health, and self care, emotional intelligence is just one of those skills that we were never taught in school, or the system has failed us on. So we must take that control and power back to learn those things for ourselves. So let me just start with the difference between IQ and EQ, right? Intelligent quotient, also known as IQ, is a person's reasoning or cognitive abilities. For example, a performance at school, the salary one earns, or a competition within a professional settings, or example of having a high IQ, right? So, however, with the accelerated growth of AI, it might just take over our IQ. Now, emotional intelligence, also known as EQ, is our human's ability. It is a learned personal skills. So it helps us to understand not just our emotions, but the emotions of others. So this one focuses more on the right brain, which is about our intuition and our creativity. Whereas IQ focuses on the left brain, which is more like the logical side, uh, our reasoning, the way we analyze things. So, however, in the society we live in, we overuse our left brain, completely neglecting our right brain, right? So, from my own personal experience growing up, especially in my teens and early 20s, my understanding of IQ was always to get good grades, you know, trying to climb the professional ladder, right? I didn't really know what emotional intelligence was until about 3 to 4 years ago, uh, where I had to literally put myself out there to learn what that was. Um, Before then, all I was doing was competing against myself to kind of uh, get the successful life that I wanted, so I thought. But once I understood what emotional intelligence was, it kind of had me at pause and really learn about my own emotions and how best to interact with others. So, even though a high IQ is no guarantee of prosperity, prestige, or happiness in life, our schools and our culture fixate on academic abilities, ignoring the emotional intelligence that also matters immensely for our personal destiny. From Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman is a psychologist and author who does a lot of work around emotional intelligence. So I am going to link some of his books, five of his most popular books on emotional intelligence under the description box. So feel free to check those out. Like I said, as I continue to learn more about emotional intelligence, there are 4 areas that helped me to develop or understand emotional intelligence. So I'm going to share that with you. So I hope you resonate with them. So the first one being self-awareness and mindfulness. So I talk about self-awareness and mindfulness, and I'll continue to do so because it is an important part of personal growth or personal development. So self-awareness, I also talk a lot about awakening, and I realized that some might question, what is she talking about? So awakening is really being aware of the life you're living and not allowing external factor to dictate that life. That's what awakening is. So it's really kind of observing where you are and slowing down to better understand who you are and what you want out of life. And to be honest, a lot of people are out of touch on that. So that's what I mean when I talk about awakening. Self awareness is to learn how to express or understand your own emotions. It always starts with you, as I always say. So once you understand your own emotion, then you're able to understand others' emotions. But to get there, the first thing first is to spend time in solitude, right? Prioritize time to spend to connect with yourself and then pay attention to your own emotions. I know some might say, I don't have time for that. We do make time. We make time, prioritize things that we want to make time for. So if this is as important, you will. And it doesn't have to be uh, that long. 5 minutes every day won't hurt until you get comfortable with that. Oftentimes, like I say, is not, is more so what people are afraid to see or learn about themselves. That's what's stopping them. It's not like the time. Those are just a couple of excuses to just not get to the work that you need to do to understand yourself at a deeper level. So understand your own emotions first, and then once you do that, you'll be able to understand others people's emotions, which leads me into practices or exercises that you can incorporate to be mindful. Some I've already mentioned, such as journaling. Again, spending time in nature is very important. That's the best way to connect with yourself. And solitude, meditation, and deep breathing. Starting next year, I will see if we have more audiences and people uh, want want to add couple minutes of meditation or deep breathing exercise, I'm happy to do that as a collective. Whatever helps. But I know a lot of people say that's so hard for them to focus on. That's because there's so many noise going on around you, so it's so hard to kind of disconnect. But definitely finding mindfulness exercises or practices it helps you be more self-aware. The last thing that is important, or at least it helped me, was having a self-assessment, right? How on how I respond to my own emotions first and then others. So I will self-assess myself every now and then sometimes I even go as far as asking for constructive feedback from others that I interact with on a regular basis, right? And just hear the opinion and kind of see if that's something I can incorporate to kind of help me to better um, understand my own emotions. So that's self-awareness and mindfulness. The second one is behavior management. Part of the chaos that's going on around us is due to a lack of self-management. Um, we have mass shootings, we have wars and violence with each other. The problems start with you. You're at war with yourself first before anything else. So learning how to manage yourself is the first answer here. before anything else. So another thing that can help with this is paying attention, consciently paying attention to your behavior and action, because they can reflect on how well you understand your own emotions. So another thing is the art of listening. Uh, many can argue that they're a good listener. I did as well, but I'm talking about not just listening, but listening to understand with no interruption. I'm still a work in progress on this one. I must admit, it is not easy because everyone feels like whatever they have to say is more important than what the other person has to say. So it's important to kind of listen to the other person and not cut them off and just listen to understand. And if you don't understand, just ask again to make sure you understand what they're saying. That also helps a lot with behavior management. So the next one is empathy and compassion. Um, of course, I'll expand more on empathy and compassion when we start talking about healing, the healing process or our healing series. But just here quickly, empathy and compassion also start with the self. If you don't empathize with yourself and have self-compassion, it is hard to do it with others as well. So empathy is really knowing how others think and feel first, and once you do that, you're better able to care for them and understand their needs, right? And then compassion, again, it starts with you. So some of the way you can have compassion for yourself and others is by not being too hard on yourself. I spoke about being kind to yourself always, right? Trying to speak positive word into yourself, because we live in a world of polarity, uh, you know, positive versus negative. So if you start being hard on yourself and just speaking negative words into your world, you attract that. I already talked about that. So trying to be as kind as possible as you can. Like I said, speak word of affirmation if that helps, right? And express gratitude for the smallest of things, such as being grateful for waking up this morning. You'll be amazed on, you know, how many people wish they are in your position, right? Just the small of things, and having loved ones, surrounded by loved ones. Some people don't have that. The last thing here on emotional intelligence is connectivity and social skills. So the first thing first is learning how to resolve conflict. How well do you handle conflict? So conflict are not to be avoided, right? So there's this popular saying of don't sweep things under the rug. It's a temporary fix. That is so true, because the problem is still there. So learn to not avoid conflict, and if it's not the right timing to resolve them, fine, put them aside and come back later when is the right time, and respectfully address those issues, right? Learn to be comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations. That's very important when it comes to connecting with others. Embracing our differences. I've been in like professional settings or even other settings where it was like, oh, you don't have to deal with them for long. Just manage for now, and you might not see them again. No, wrong. That's not the way to handle this. Another problem that why it's hard for us to get along is people don't want to accept and learn each other's differences. Let's not just accept and learn them, but also embrace them and say, you know what? I understand this person' point of view is different from mine, and that is okay. So how do we move from here, right? So that helps you to better interact with others, also help enhance your own personal growth, right? Like I said, we're all connected. We are. So it's so hard to just disregard and say, you just have to deal with them now. You don't know when else you have to deal with them. So be mindful and let's embrace each other's differences. Building trust under social skills and connectivity. I already touched up on building trust on my respect video or episode. So I'll link that video at the end so you can look into that. But when we talk about building trust, we're talking about having effective communication, being accountable and responsible for your behaviors, respecting people time, being honest. So those are some of the ways to build trust. So I would say it is time that we start normalizing emotional intelligence by first understanding our own emotions, to better understand others' emotions as well. Let's stop asking others to regulate their emotions, but rather encourage them to consciously master their behavior and actions. That would allow them to better pay attention to how they feel, right? Only then can we have high emotional intelligence or develop that. So, to reiterate, having emotional intelligence means being self aware and mindful, learning how to manage your behaviors and actions, having empathy and compassion towards yourself and others, but also learning how to connect with others. So I say it is time to make room for emotional intelligence and just learn how to connect with our own self and with others. So with that, my beautiful community, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. So share this video with someone that might resonate with it. So yeah, until next time. Mwah.